In this session we are going to explore how to write an alternative version of the story 11. The story of 11 takes place on an unknown alien world in which the astronaut 11 tries to contact his people using his radio and has trouble getting through because of the automated radio response. He then gets surrounded by robots and there's a bit of a shooting match and he has to run away. Quite a funny short film, do watch it as part of what you're doing. Now, our job today is to write an alternative version of that. So, the best thing to do is to start off with a bit of a box plan. You can see from my version that we've got the original story, and then I've gone through each part and decided which part I want to keep the same. Try and keep most of the details the same. You can change one key thing, then that can change the whole story. If you try and change everything, you'll end up with, well, something completely different that doesn't quite match up. So we can see I've kept the character the same, 11, and I've changed the setting ever so slightly. On the original film it's an alien planet, we're not entirely sure where. I've decided to make it the moon just to make it a bit more specific, and I can add some details from what I know about the moon. Then the characters, I've changed the evil robots to traffic warden robots. That'll become clearer later. And then key event number 1. Originally 11 tries to call his command post and several robots are nearby. I've changed that ever so subtly. 11 tries to call his command post. He yells out instructions to be evacuated immediately. Several menacing looking robots are nearby. For key event 2, originally 11 makes contact on the radio and hides from the robots to speak. I've changed that a little bit to the radio replies, "The number you have dialed has not been recognised. Please hang up and try again." The robots overhear this and start to come nearer. For the third key event, originally it said 11 requests to be evacuated, but the radio operator turns out to be an automated machine. Now this is where I've started to expand on the new ideas, and this is where you can go very creative. You have all sorts of things happening. I've tried to do the following. I've said, frustrated, 11 tries again. This time the radio says, "The number you have dialed is not in service. Please hang up and try again." 11 repeats this many times, getting different responses. "This person's phone is switched off. Please try again later," and "Calls to this number are restricted on this device. Please consult with your telephone network provider." Then, "Our office hours are Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. If you require assistance outside of these hours, please try out one of our out-of-hours service lines." And then we go on to event 4. Originally, a robot sees 11 and attempts to shoot him. 11 shoots him and shouts out in celebration. That one I've kept more or less the same. So a robot sees 11 and produces a menacing looking steel weapon. So there I've put in some of the adjectives that I want to use in my main story. 11 shoots the robot and yells out in celebration. Now that's the cause of event 5. Originally, a piece of the destroyed robot flashes red, indicating more robots are being called. 11 is annoyed that the radio is giving away his position and shoots the radio. I've changed that a little bit. A small hatch opens on the top of the destroyed robot and a lit up siren appears, blaring, "Help! Help! Warden robot damaged on active service! Help! Help! A rotten meanie has shot me! Help!" Lots more robots come running over. For the final part of the story, I planned probably the biggest change. So instead of the radio starts playing elevator music, prompting more robots to arrive, so 11 drops the radio and runs away, I've changed it up a little bit. 11 is surrounded by evil-looking robots. They surround him. Their steel weapons are drawn. Suddenly one robot moves, revealing that his weapon is in fact a pen. He starts writing out a ticket saying, "You have left your spacecraft parked on a double yellow line. You owe a fine of £37.50. The radio kicks into life. "Welcome to the out-of-hours service. How may we help you?" 11 replies, I need an interstellar transfer of £37.50, please." The radio replies, "That is not an emergency matter. You will be receiving a fine for wasting our time. Please call back in office hours," and hangs up. 11 looks around at the angry traffic wardens, then runs away. So that's probably the longest part of the plan, and you can see I've put in a little bit of the speech that I'm planning to use. It's not hugely detailed, but there's some of the adjectives that will later be used, and we can then use this whole plan to start writing the full story. So here we have the first part of my example story. Now you can use some of this for your own one if you'd like, or you can come up with your own ideas too. So let's go through some of the features I used. Gasping for breath, 11 reached frantically for his radio, so straight away, fronted adverbial. Sweat poured down his forehead, making the inside of his spacesuit feel hot and clammy. Fumbling and cursing, he finally reached the tiny radio and pressed the button to transmit. As he waited to connect his call to Earth, many thousands of miles away, his eyes darted nervously back and forth like a cornered rat. So again, we've got the simile, like a cornered rat, showing that he's getting quite upset, he's getting worried, and builds up the tension. Beep. Oh no. Beep. It can't be. Beep. 11 whipped his head around, and to his horror saw an enormous herd of angry-looking robots. So we've got the repetition of beep 3 times there. Now, beep, not the most terrifying word, but the repetition and the short, sharp sentences do help build up the tension. Painted in military grey. Got an adjective there for the grey. The robots floated just above the surface of the moon, blowing little clouds of dust around them and letting out an ominous whir and whine of gnashing metal. So gnashing, good little word there to show that these are not friendly robots. That decided it, thought 11. He had to get off this moon right now. Again, building up the tension. There was a click on the radio, so 11 spoke as fast as he could. Mayday, mayday, mayday! This is Officer 11 of the Interstellar Mining Corporation, requesting immediate evacuation from the Lunar Sea of Tranquility. Over. He took a breath as he waited for the reply. The robots were still milling around some distance away, like an ironclad mob of vicious vultures, ready to rip him to shreds at a moment's notice. So again, we've got the adjective like an ironclad mob, so ironclad means they're covered in metal, and vicious vultures, bit of alliteration there. Finally, the radio kicked into life, and 11 breathed a sigh of relief, knowing he would soon be saved. The crackling voice rang out, all too loudly. The number you have dialed is not recognised. Please hang up and try again. 11 stared, dumbfounded, at the radio, and backed a little further into the shadow of the crater he was hiding in. The robots seemed to have sensed the transmission and were floating ominously closer. So again, building up a little bit of tension there, and starting to reveal the problem with the radio.